And that's the championship. Loving the dance from Rasmussen. And that'll do it. And they have thoroughly deserved the win. That'll do it. And it's a super 500 at that. It just gets better and better and better. This could be it, and it is.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Badminton Weekly with me, Colette Wong. What a week it was in Calgary as the Yonex Canada Open witnessed plenty of top-notch action in its inaugural year as a Super 500 event. We had a couple of big upsets to set up a fantastic final day, so let's get straight into it. Joining us today, I am delighted to have with us former Australia player and coach Jeff Toe. Jeff, welcome back.
Thanks for having me, Colette.
Let's start with some of the big upsets. The mixed doubles top seeds Yuta Watanabe and Arisa Higashino was shown the door in the quarterfinals after being knocked out by Li Jiahui and Su Yaqing from Chinese Taipei. The final game was such a close one, with Li and Su clinching it 26-24. But what do you think was lacking for Higashino and Watanabe, Jeff?
Yeah, I think they've struggled with a bit of form since Yuta was injured earlier this year with his ankle. And I feel that he's not moving as quickly. Usually in the mid-court and the rear court, he's very, very fast. But I felt that actually Li was faster around the court than Yuta. And that's actually very surprising because not many people are faster than Yuta. And I felt that Higashino's defense, that's always been a bit of a sticking point. If she's defending well, then they can do very well. But it looked like she was a little bit shaky, not quite as confident in her defense. So Li and Su were able to get through her defense, and she was making quite a lot of errors there. And I think what happens then is when she's making a few more errors, then Yuta tries to do more. And then I actually saw him play more errors than he usually plays as well. So I think it was a little bit tricky for them. And at the end of the second set, Su did two really good flick serves, which I think ended the game very well. It disrupted the rhythm of Higashino and Watanabe, and they were able to take the victory from those 2 points.
The men's doubles category also saw the top two seeds sent packing in the last 8. The top seeds Takura Hoki and Yugo Kobayashi were beaten by their compatriots Akira Koga and Taichi Saito. Meanwhile, the daddies Muhammad Ahsan and Hendra Setiawan fell short against Li Yang and Wang Qilin. Now this just shows how competitive this category is, doesn't it, Jeff?
Look, I thought the daddies were a little bit flat, to be honest. I'm used to seeing the daddies very switched on and very aware in the service situation in the first three shots. But Wang Qilin and Li Yang, they just, in the first set, they got such an early start. Like they were ahead by many points because they were more switched on than the daddies. And the daddies looked like they were playing a few more errors. They looked like they just weren't quite as quick or as switched on or as alert as they usually are. And I think that Li and Wang were really able to capitalize on that. It kind of reminds me of when they won the Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games, where they were so fast. They were so good in these flat exchanges and the first three shots of each rally. And I think that we started to see that a little bit in this matchup against the daddies.
While the top two seeds faltered, the third seeds, Kim Astrup and Anders Skarp Rasmussen, had a convincing journey to the final where they faced another Danish pair, Rasmus Kjær and Frederik Søgaard. Of course, Astrup and Rasmussen came into this tournament on the back of their European Games win, and it was clear they were riding high on confidence, Jeff.
Yeah, I think that they overall played a very solid tournament. And of course, after winning the Europeans, then they're going to be quite confident. Sometimes when I watch them play against the top pairs, I will find that they can keep up with them for the first 11 points or about the mid-game interval, but then after that, the top pairs can pull away from them. And I find that sometimes they have a few errors or confusions between the players, but I felt that over this tournament in Canada, they didn't really have the lulls or the drop in performance much in each set. I think that as a pair that they're very steady. If they can play steady, if Astrup can dominate at the front court and give Rasmussen chances in the rear court to attack, I think they can be very strong. And I think that's what they did really well in the second and third sets in the finals in Canada as well. It was a very close first set, and it was a spectacular last point of the first set with diving and everything. from Frederick and Rasmus' side. But I think the second and third, they were very much more in control, and they were able to use that formation of Astrup in the front court, Rasmussen in the back court, and I think they used that to get to victory quite comfortably in the end.
It feels amazing. Also a shout out to our compatriots. Perhaps it marks a new era for Danish men's doubles. Yeah, but it really marks a huge milestone for Kim and I. We have it's quite emotional in the fact that we felt that we have been on a down. To come back to winning back-to-back titles is huge for us. It just shows hard work and motivation, what it does. I'm so proud of us.
Now, Rasmus Kjær and Frederick Søgaard may have fallen just short of the top step, but they've definitely won the hearts of many around the badminton world, including former Canadian player Charmaine Reid. Here's Charmaine to share more on why the pair is her standout pair of the tournament.
Well, they're hitting hard, they're consistent, they're moving the shot around the court very well. It's an all-around game, especially the altitude. You get to hit harder here, so you see a lot more power, and it's a fun, fast sport to watch. It's great. The unseeded, never say die out here, and they're up against some of the best, and they're going to be the best in the world as well. They're chasing Olympic points, they're chasing world points, and it's fun to see the atmosphere. It's good for badminton. A lot of people are watching and seeing the best. We don't get this many opportunities in Canada to do that.
It's been a long journey for me and Rasmus since we started our partnerships to be here, play a lot of smaller tournaments. So it's a big tournament for us. I think it's only our third Super 500 together. So it means a lot.
For us, ranking is important. We're trying to break through the top 32, which allows us to play the biggest tournaments. So that and financially everything, it matters, but we've just tried to keep it game by game. That's the way to control it, keeping the same preparation. And I think we've done well, but you can feel now it means a bit more than some of the other ones.
The fans were also delighted to see Ratchanok Intanon in her first final of the year. The Thai had a perfect record in the early stages and was given a spot in the final after Bae Wen Chang pulled out of their semi-final clash. Intanon took on world number 1, Akane Yamaguchi, in the final and put up a great fight, didn't she, despite her defeat? Do you think, Jeff, that she's almost back to her best?
Honestly, it's hard to say. I feel like her road to the final, it wasn't easy, but it was quite comfortable. She was playing well, but I didn't really see her get pushed that far. Of course, the semi-final walkover made it easier for her to make it to the finals. I think that it's hard to judge just based on one tournament. If she can string together several tournaments in a row where she's getting some really good results and playing all the way to the finals and further, then that's where we can say, okay, Ratchanok is back to her previous high level. But I think it's always hard playing Akane Yamaguchi in the final. And even though Akane did lose to Ratchanok last time they met in the Indonesia Open, she does have a stronger head-to-head, being 13-11 up. So I think that Akane is just able to always switch it on when it's important. I think that Akane is able to deal with all the pressure of all the finals, and there's no points where she'll just give an easy point away. She's making you work so hard for every single point, and that can be very frustrating, especially if you're playing very well, but you just can't put the shuttle away. It's very difficult mentally.
And finally, unseeded Lakshya Sen also booked his place in the final for the first time this year. He saw big names on the way there and wrapped up the week perfectly by defeating All-England champion Lee Shefeng for his first title since the 2022 Commonwealth Games. He must be so proud of his performance here.
Yeah, I think it's great to see Lakshya back into the final. And after beating Kunlavut and Nishimoto, I felt like in the tournament he was a lot more confident. I feel like he was moving very, very well. In the past, I found that sometimes he's a bit too passive and he tends to just retrieve and return, and that's it, and not really create that much himself. But I felt like in Canada, he was really stepping up to the front court, taking the shot early, pushing the opponent around very quickly. I think his movement was very fast as well and wasn't just waiting for them to attack. He was looking for the attacking opportunity himself, and I found that he was able to use the attack well. And when he goes for it, his attack is actually very powerful. His smash is very strong as well. So I think that it's a very good sign for all the Indian fans out there, because I do think he's coming to form again based on his performance in Canada.
Yeah, I think towards the second game, it was quite difficult for me to predict anything at that moment because I was trailing all the way, and all I could think was just to cover the lead. And yeah, I think the key thing was to just remain patient at the crucial moments and play the right tactical game.
Now the season continues in North America with the 7th Super 300 event on the calendar, the Yonex US Open. On paper, the men's singles category looks relatively competitive, but defending champion Lin Chunyi will be eager to defend his title. What do you make of his performances this year? And do you think he's the next Chou Tianchun, just like many of his fans claim him to be?
Look, I think they're pretty big shoes to fill, and for me to be more confident in saying that he can be the next Chou Tianchun, I think that he needs to get a little bit more consistent results at the bigger tournaments. So I think he's done very well. He's come up the world rankings very, very quickly by winning the smaller tournaments consistently. I think that's great. But in order for someone to say he's the next Chou Tianchun, I think that we need to see him making quarterfinals, semifinals, finals consistently in the big events, the 500, 750s. I do think that this year, the US Open for him will be a lot more difficult. I think that the field in the men's singles is a lot stronger than when he won the last US Open. So it's going to be a really good test for him during this US Open.
Ratchanok Intanon, who seeded first in the women's singles, will also be eager to do one better in the US. And looking at her draw, she does have a good chance of reaching back-to-back finals, doesn't she?
She's obviously in good form after Canada, and confidence of playing through the whole tournament there is definitely a good win for her. And I think that the semi-final walkover will also help, because I think sometimes physical fitness could sometimes be the downside to Ratchanok's game. Sometimes we do see her tiring out a little bit towards the end of the tournament. So I think she's likely to meet PV Sindhu in the semi-finals in the US Open. She has a really good track record against a 9-4 in the head-to-head, and she's beaten her the last 5 times in a row. So I think that if she can win that semi-final against PV Sindhu, then that would be a huge confidence boost, and I would back her to win the US Open if she can do that.
Finally, let's have a look at the women's doubles category, where Liu Xingshu and Tan Ning will be eyeing their 2nd Super 300 title of the year. Their partnership started with a bang when they won the Madrid Masters, and they followed that up with a place in the final at the Orleans Masters. However, they haven't been performing as well lately, have they, Jeff? Do you think they can turn things around here?
Look, I think that they've only been a pair since March this year. So I think they've done very well so far. And we can see that Liu has also had some victories earlier in the year with Zhang in the Indonesian Masters, so a different partner. But I think from my perspective, Liu really has some really good skills and good power and good ability to create plays and set up the points, where Tan is more of a basically solid player, more supportive player to help Liu, because I think Liu is the playmaker in this pair. It appears that they will potentially meet Li and Teng from Chinese Taipei in the quarterfinals of the US Open. I think that will be a challenge for them, but if they're able to win that, then I'll back them to win the US Open, so win their 2nd Super 300 title for this year.
Well, that's all the time we have for this week's episode. Once again, I'd like to thank Jeff for taking the time out to join me today.
Thanks for having me.
And for all of you at home, don't forget to catch all the action from the Yonex US Open, starting from the 11th of July through to the 16th. And if you're on the go, don't worry, you can still catch the latest news, match updates, and statistics through the BWF app Badminton for you. And finally, you know what to do. Leave your comments, thoughts, and questions on the BWF Facebook and YouTube page. For now, though, take care. Bye-bye.